So I spent 5 months there, and I really miss my family. I had 2 breaks during the whole 5 months, and I went back to Hong Kong maybe a few days, each break. And every time I go back to Hong Kong, I see my kids growing taller and taller, and I feel really bad, of course, as a father. I wanted to witness my kids growing up, so I'm just going to spend a very chill time.
Donnie, since you mentioned Star Wars, the movie is opening about the same time here as Star Wars. I know Star Wars opened yesterday. Raymond, 你覺得同 Star Wars 一齊爭 box office 會咁樣點樣咧？你會覺得有信心嗎？
有信心。呢個檔期得兩種選擇。
I think that first of all, the audience should have a choice of watch more than one film, right? That's at the end of the day, you are the consumer, right? You should be able to. This is not a monopolizing film industry here, right? So you should be able, especially during holiday. Second of all, I mean, not for nothing, Star Wars. The Star Wars family as well as Ip Man. So both. The better Star Wars does, is better for me. So.
Can you say anything about one at all?
I can say. What can I say?
What can you say about?
What can I say about? As you know, I have a contractual agreements, to Disney's. I cannot disclose any contents and some information about the film because it's going to be released next year at Christmas. But I can say that it will be a fantastic film. But first focus on Ip Man.
Of emotional content and also action content. Which did you find more intimidating, playing against the towering Lin in a romantic role or against Mike Tyson in action?
Of course, honestly, I felt very comfortable working with Lin after this is the 3rd time we worked together. As I was saying before, when an actor, when they are into the role, they are actually drawing their own personal experience in life as a reflection, using that role to. That's why every actor, when they interpret a similar role, it comes out with different characteristics, right? So when you see Ip Man, you see a lot of me because that's how I would deal with situations in my own personal life. So when I was working with Lin, I basically draw how I would behave if my wife was reacting that way and my son. So I felt very comfortable, and obviously the chemistry has been more than well received, from the audience after watching the film. Working with Mike Tyson was very intimidating at first because number one, not because he was a former heavyweight champion of the world, he's Mike Tyson. Secondly, we all know that he doesn't have too much of film experience, so therefore I was really afraid that he may not able to remember certain moves because the way Yu Mo Ping, our action director, his choreography is very complicated and very high world standard. So, like I said, it was in the press conference that I was, I want to go home safe, right? Or even though I've been in the movie business for a long time, but just in case there's an accident, I try to keep the accident as minimum as possible. And there was a few times when his punch was coming really close to me, and I knew that if I did not get out of the way in time, I would have been seriously hurt. Let me say this. In this episode, installment, I wouldn't call it episode, let me rephrase myself. In this installment number 3, when they asked me, when producer Raymond and Wilson, when they approached me to do part 3, some of the reporter asked me whether I have a lot of pressure on reprising this role, and I told them I have no pressure at all. Because the pressure I feel is on them, on Wilson's and also the producer, because for me, I think after 1 and 2, I believe that the audience already embraced the image of me playing Ip Man. So I'm not going to change another way of the different type of performance, right? I don't think the audience want to see another type of interpretation. So therefore, for me, is to continue with the storyline. So the pressure is on the storyline as well as the pressure is on the elements we inject into this film, which we have, for example, like Tyson, that's one of the elements, and also what kind of message we want to deliver to this film. Obviously, number one, number two, number three, although they are different, but the central message is remain the same. It's about a family man. Number one is about a family man under the certain the occupation of Japanese invasions in China, and how he overcome the problems, you know, with patriotic pride, and how he to prioritize himself as a family man, as a kung fu master during the occupation. Number two, part two was taking his family to Hong Kong and trying to make a living, the circumstances. So number one, the theme was about survival. Number two was about making a living. And number three, obviously, is about the life. How do we deal with life? How do we deal with life as, even though he's a grandmaster, he's very capable, very powerful, but yet everybody faces the same problem. Everybody faces the same elements each day. Doesn't matter if you're a grandmaster of like Ip Man or an ordinary husband. So how does he deal with a problem like that? So the theme actually remains the same.
I have a question. This film, the action scenes, you have few fights with different martial arts. Like one is Muay Thai, one is Tyson itself, obviously. How did you approach the choreography? Was it hard to adapt to this?
No, not so much. Because first of all, as you know, I've been in the business for a long time, right? Quite a long time, over 30 years. So I've been quite a number of different action films, probably the total of 70 movies. For me, it's always approaching the character before the style of the fighting, right? If I'm playing a undercover or playing a monkey king or playing a historical personnel to Ip Man, the Grandmaster, you first identify his background, his historical characteristic before I approach his style. Obviously, Ip Man is the Wing Chun Grandmaster, so therefore I have to portray him as a Wing Chun practitioner. So therefore, as an actor, I have done many research and some practice it's part of my acting as well. That's part of being a professional actor.
So another thing I'd like to ask is actually, in this type of inventory, you actually do have like dancing and other scenes more on family. Would that be a stress for you when you come to this scene? For instance, like, because we usually see that the Kung Fu master is, playing the martial arts, but this time it's more on the family elements. So what is the challenge on this?
To me, I have no challenge at all, because, like, I'm sure some of you watched some of these comedy movies that I've done with Mr. Raymond Wong. I dance and sing. In fact, my second film was a breakdance movie about over 30 years ago. So for me, music it's always been part of my upbringing, and he's very lucky that he have this person who can fight and dance at the same time.
咁我想問下邊啦，咁你比較中意佢即係喺戲入邊啦，你比較中意佢跳舞嗰部分呢，定係打功夫部分啊？
我平時我喺戲入邊咧就日日夢想就係跳舞嗰部分啦，因為佢真係太少陪住我、陪住屋企人、陪住個仔啦，所以我日日都諗嘅都係佢可以早啲翻屋企陪我做啲我中意嘅嘢。但係真係到佢揀咗我揀咗家庭啦，我要好懷念佢以前喺出邊同人幫人同埋為咗一啲事係同人去比武嗰種感覺，因為我覺得咁樣先至係真正嘅移民，移民就係應該喺出邊幫人同埋伸張正義咁樣。
In the 1950s, is it a possibility that a black man be a mafia boss and actually married to a Chinese?
Let me give you a very fair judgment on this questions, right? This is not a documentary. We never claim to make a documentary about the life of Ip Man. In fact, I don't think anybody other than our brand of Ip Man, even the Wong Kar-wai, like far-fetched from the news story. So I don't believe, first of all, there are Black Americans during that era of Hong Kong, right? And I think, as you know, Mike Tyson is one of the highlights of the action elements of the film. So rather than spend too much effort on challenging the historical factors, right? I think we should give this film a fair judgment on the message we try to bring across, which is about family, about love, about loyalty, about trust and respect. So I wouldn't pay too much attention to the documentary facts.
Question. A lot of these movies, I mean, you mentioned Wong Fei Hung just now, a lot of these movies, a lot of their sequels ended up fighting all the Guai-Lo, a lot of fighting the Yong Yang and everything. So with this one, when it was mentioned Mike Tyson, a lot of people thought, oh, it's going to be something like that again, but it turned out to be something different altogether. Was it a conscious decision to actually make it that way?
I think it was a conscious decision, number one. I think that it's very difficult to find a balance in first place to satisfy action fans as well as trying to make the best movie we can, right? We know that a lot of audience will come to watch Ip Man Part 3 for the action. So therefore, we gotta put an attractive element, attractive opponents for Ip Man, right? He obviously can't fight an alien, he can't fight a monster, so he has to fight a real person. So who that person can be, like to elevate the interest of the audience to watch the film. But at the same time, we do have a responsibility and conscience to try to make the best film we can. So therefore, at the end, the whole focus was not on, as you know, you saw the film, it wasn't on Mike Tyson. Mike Tyson was just a highlight to satisfy, to give back the audience for their expectation. But at the end, like I said before, we focused back on what was great about this whole storytelling from part 1 and part 2, part 3. It was all about family.